Today marks the first full business day that Canada's retaliatory tariffs against the United States are in full effect. Canada has slapped identical tariffs on 25% on U.S. steel exports and 10% on U.S. aluminum exports. In addition, Canada is imposing duties on things like whiskey, ketchup, yogurt, and chocolate, trying to hit the U.S. where it hurts. But we know this trade war is going to hurt both sides. What remains to be seen is where we'll feel it the most. Joining us this morning is Adam Taylor from Export Action Global. Adam, thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's talk about how this will impact Canadians at the grocery store. Here's a longer list of some of the American exports Canada has slapped a duty on, things like maple syrup, licorice, toffee, cucumbers, soy sauce, soups, and then some of the big ones we mentioned like whiskey and ketchup. So the question is, will we be paying more for these things right now?
Well, we may not be paying more for them right now, as in today when the grocery store opens, but in the next few days and in the next few weeks, we certainly will pay more. This is one of the problems with these types of trade wars, is we're making it more expensive for things to come into our country, which inevitably will impact the bottom lines and the prices people pay at the grocery store. So this is how these trade wars, nobody ultimately wins in them.
All right, well, it is a two-way street. What about the American consumer? How are they going to feel the impact of the tariffs that the White House slapped on our steel and aluminum exports?
Yeah, well, that's the exact same thing. Is when they put tariffs on our goods and we put tariffs on their goods, everybody pays more, and so American consumers and American workers are going to feel the pinch of the tariffs we're imposing. So it just goes to show you that in a world where our economies are so integrated and highly linked through supply chains, and we've been doing business tariff-free for over 25 years, it just goes to show how much of a new low we've reached in the Canada-U.S. trade relationship.
You just mentioned Canadian workers are going to feel this as well. Talk to me about where they're going to feel that impact the most.
Well, we ultimately know that in the Central Canadian manufacturing hub, whether it's food production or cars or aerospace. So in Ontario and Quebec, we're certainly going to feel this. What people don't realize, or what many people may not realize, is that Canada relies on trade with the United States way more than they rely on trade with us. So nearly 50% of the gross domestic product in Ontario and Quebec, throughout Atlantic Canada, even in the West, is a significant driver of our economy is the trade we do with the United States. By contrast, in states like Michigan and Vermont, only those are the two states that have the biggest driver of trade with Canada, and it's still less than 20%. So it just goes to show, in a trade war, Canada is ultimately the one to lose, and it's in our most sort of significant manufacturing hubs of Ontario and Quebec mostly.
Now, some pundits are saying that pressure on the White House to reverse these tariffs, it's going to have to come from the state level. And we know that the Trudeau government did a lot of work trying to find items to place tariffs on that make strategic sense and that would place pressure on certain states, certain regions, certain representatives. Which states will be hurt most by this trade war, who then could come to the defense of Canada and freer trade?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting piece of all of this. Is it's about being strategic and selective with where you're imposing tariffs. For example, putting tariffs on dairy products, yogurt, and things like that, that directly targets a dairy-producing state like Wisconsin. So that gets Paul Ryan and some of the Republicans that may have influence with the Trump administration to say to him, hey, look, you're hurting my workers in my state. Let's end this. Same with whiskey, is a very strategically selected product because Kentucky is, of course, the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's home state. So they want Mitch McConnell to go and tell the Trump administration, hey, my workers and my constituents are being harmed by this. So those are the types of strategic moves that the Canadian government has made. They probably are smart moves. We'll have to, only time will tell if it actually has an impact and actually we get some movement, and so we'll have to wait and see.
Adam Taylor, thanks for giving us the lay of the land on this.
Thank you very much.